Hello and welcome back to the New View. So before we begin, I have a few announcements. First of all, as you know, there was a huge gap in between posting episodes. Like I haven't posted an episode since November. And the last episode, um, was posted pretty recently, last Sunday. Um, So, so the reason because of that, I'm not going to go too huge into detail, but basically I had a lot of computer issues, but luckily I've been resolving that, so yeah, it should be fine. And also another thing about the last episode, um, so yeah, that episode was posted. Yeah, again, I mentioned it was Sunday, but um, it was filmed on December 1st. So if any of you were confused about the information as like that, it might have sounded a bit outdated. That's the reason why. And my second announcement is um, happy Age of Aquarius. Welcome to the Age of Aquarius, guys. But yeah, uh, we're going to talk about that more in future episodes, but right now, as you know, political season is really what's going on right now, and political tensions are really intense. So let's definitely talk about some politics, which brings us to uh, today's episode. So today we have special guest Swift. If you guys don't know, Swift was actually on 2 episodes ago. So hello Swift, welcome back.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah. And um, yeah, it's great to have you back. Uh, yeah, basically,
Likewise, it's good to be back.
yeah.
So
Thank
yeah,
you.
let's talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so first in the last episode, so we talked about uh the consequences of coronavirus lockdowns and restrictions and all that. And that kind of vaguely ties into today's topic, but Um, for the most part, it's fairly unrelated, but somewhat related. But today is more about, uh, as you know, there was, as you know, there's been a lot of riots, and protests from the right. They've been, yeah, they've been doing these riots and protests, ever since November, actually, because e- ever since November 3rd, actually. um, which is election night, and they really haven't been stopping, which is pretty concerning. And eventually, tensions still escalated even during the lame duck period, um, which actually we did cover a bit of in our last episode when we were together in episode 2. We talked about the right rioting a lot in response to the election, but tensions have been growing so much, it's been getting so ridiculous that it led to what happened on January 6th, which, as you all know, um, it was a riot at the U.S. Capitol building, um, and yeah, you have any comments so far about that?
Not really.
All right, so So yeah, this all happened January 6th, and there's a reason why it happened on this date. Um, yeah, January 6th was a very significant day, and I've actually had that day sort of marked mentally in my head as like, oh, this is one of these days we're really gonna have to get through because shit is gonna get really intense on this day. I've sort of had it just mentally in my head since about like November or October, because I've had a lot of days within my head where I've basically been saying, "Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna have to get through this because something crazy is gonna happen on this day." But yeah, so anyway, January 6th is one of these days, and the reason why is because January 6th is the day that Congress officially certified Joe Biden's win for the presidency. Uh, so essentially, so the process for the transition of power, which it's it's normally called the quote unquote peaceful transition of power, but really this transition of power has been anything but peaceful. So really, let's just throw the whole term out the window. Um, but yeah, this has not been a peaceful transition of power at all. Um, and yeah, there are many reasons why, but um, so anyway, January 6th, um, well, first of all, before January 6th, there was the election. There was election night where the vote wasn't hasn't been officially decided. Then there was uh, November 7th where all the votes, well, not all the votes, but actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure about all the votes have been counted, and Joe Biden has been declared the winner. Then on December 14th, which was another day I had noted in my head, that's when Joe Biden has been declared the winner by the Electoral College, and then the final, well, yeah, basically the final day that decided if Joe Biden officially won the election or not is on January 6th, where it's official. This is where Congress uh, officially declares Joe Biden the winner, and for the most part, it's ceremonial, but really, it's where everything is official. This is the point where it's basically just it's done. It's done. Trump doesn't have any other chance whatsoever, and that is what was supposed to take place. And spoiler alert, it did in the end because Joe Biden still won. But um, so it has, as you know, it's been interrupted by a riot. Um, And yeah, really, if you don't know about this riot, yeah, you've kind of been living under a rock because, yeah, this riot has been huge. Like the whole world has been watching, not just America. But yeah, this riot is something else. So, yeah, let's go deeper into the riot. So first of all, uh, we got to figure out why it happened. Um, so so as you know, there's been a rally before it happened. Actually, this was a few hours before it happened, where Trump, yeah, Trump, it was his last rally he's ever had. Um, and so before Trump, there were a few speakers before him saying, "Hey, we need to take our country back. We need to we need to do this. We need to get real here. This is our last chance." And then when Trump started speaking, everyone was already riled up at that point. But Trump only made people more riled up. Um, yeah, he's basically been adding a lot of fuel to the fire. And did you see any of that rally by any chance?
No, no, I didn't see it.
Okay. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I definitely saw the most significant parts. The parts when these speakers and Trump really called people to action. Which is where stuff. Yeah, this is where stuff gets pretty concerning. Um, yeah, if you're calling people to action on a day when someone else is supposed to be uh, declared the winner, it's essentially um, you having absolute desperation for power, which is that's Trump for you. He doesn't know how to lose. He really doesn't. All he knows is winning, and he and as a result, when he loses, which he already lost, he's a huge sore loser. So January 6th was the last attempt for him to have a real power grab. Um, and yeah, yeah. Any thoughts on that?
No.
All right. Well, yeah. So in that rally, Trump. So Trump was really trying to make the crowd angry. He's been saying a lot of stuff, just a lot of stuff about the left, a lot of stuff about um voter fraud and how the election was stolen, and which we all know that was a bunch of bullshit. Um, yeah, we actually talked about that 2 episodes ago. Um, but yeah,
Trump's
it's
been doing a lot of, what is it called? Gaslighting attempts
oh
to
yeah,
make
uh,
believe he's been telling people he won, even though everyone knows he didn't win. Oh
yeah,
well, the
that's
American people voted for me. So yeah, it's a bit delusional, but it's his attempt at manipulating people.
oh yeah for sure. But uh, but yeah he's been doing a lot of yeah overall a lot of just manipulating and lying, just all this, and it's all just a desperation for power. Um, yeah. So yeah, as the rally was going on, he was yeah as it was going on, he was telling his supporters that they need to take their country back. Um, and and he said, and I quote, "We have to fight like hell." Let's see. There's another quote. You actually, this might not be an exact quote, but he said something along the lines of this. When taking our country back, you can't show weakness. You have to show strength. Um, and yeah, that's very concerning. That's literally stuff that fascists tell people to rile people up. And the reason why is because Trump is a fascist himself, and I'd go further. I'd say he's a Nazi. He definitely is a Nazi. Um, but yeah, he has yeah he's been basically riling up a crowd, which turned into an angry mob. Um, and he said, "Hey, we're gonna march up to the Capitol and uh and he was sort of like um he was sort of kind of saying like see how do I explain this? He was kind of saying that the people should attack the Capitol, but he was basically saying we're gonna support uh our senators, and some of them we're not gonna support at all. Some of them we're not gonna be too happy with about. Um, but yeah, uh, yeah. Basically, he was telling people to march to the Capitol and um, yeah, attack the Capitol, which is what happened. Um, and oh yeah, here's the funny part. After Trump said this, oh yeah, he said he was even gonna go there with everyone, but he never showed up. After his rally, he went right back to the White House and just watched it all on TV. Um, oh yeah, and another thing. So yeah, that was his last rally. I don't like Trump or anything, but I'm just gonna say this. At the end of all his rallies, he dances to YMCA, and really, it's honestly the funniest shit. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
I didn't know yet. I hadn't seen
Okay, but yeah. So yeah, so Trump, so Trump every Trump told everyone to march to the Capitol. And when that happened, Trump just went inside. Yeah, Trump just went inside the White House to watch it all on TV. Um, so once everyone got there, yeah, people were really riled up. They were extremely angry. Uh, they were they were really prepared to, well, do some damage, and yeah, stuff got pretty intense pretty fast. Um, yeah, there were a lot of people. Oh yeah, and by the way, there were uh, there were a significant kind of people there. Um, so yeah, the kind of people that were there were so for the most part, it was fairly across. I mean, not across the political spectrum, but it was really just the right that was there. Mostly authoritarian right. But there were some libertarians there. Um, so the kind of people that were there, I'd say, were you had uh, libertarian rightists, libertarian capitalists, and then you had people that were conservative, um, authoritarian leaning conservatives, far righters or far rightists, I guess is a better way to say it. But yeah, far rightists. You had fascists and you had Nazis, and before everyone says, "Oh, you can't call them literal Nazis," yes, I can, because there were people that had explicit Nazi symbols there. Like there was someone wearing I think it was a jacket or something, but yeah, it had the fasci symbol, which, as you know, the term fascist comes from uh, fasces, which is the symbol of fascism. And under it, it says 6MWE, which means 6 million wasn't enough, which is a Holocaust reference, which is extremely,
Jeez, shit,
extremely fucked up.
yikes.
I feel bad for even saying it because it's going to inform more people about what that means. But at the same time, people should be informed as to what it means, so we can call out Nazis when we see them. But yeah, there was someone with a Camp Auschwitz jacket or shirt. But yeah, there were actual Nazis there, and yeah, it was basically a giant reactionary riot. But yeah, uh, it yeah, it was very hate filled. Um, and there were also Confederate flags there, so there were people who support the Confederacy and are, well, most likely racist. Um, I can guarantee you there were a lot of racist people there. Um, yeah, because there was certainly a lot of hatred in there. A lot of hatred, a lot of anger, just a lot of that stuff. Um, yeah, any thoughts so far?
I mean, with that delightful group of people, it's not very surprising it led to such violence, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
heard did some people die in the riot? I heard it was like 4 people, or
Yeah, 5 people died actually, which is, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like, I mean, there's rioting and then there's people dying because of rioting. Um, yeah, if you die because of something political, that's extremely concerning. Uh, I mean, some would even call it terrorism. I mean, I'd say we got to be careful with um, the way we use the term terrorism. We shouldn't be using it so lightly and so loosely, because um, yeah, people are going to see that as a justification for more government intervention, and of course the government is as well, which is really not a good idea. That's really what we should be steering away from right now. But yeah, that's a little off topic. Um, but we can touch on that more later, cause and there's a reason why later. But yeah, anyway, um, so there was a lot of hate there, a lot of hateful people there. Um, and yeah, if you put a bunch of hateful people together, and they're angry and they're rioting, and a lot of them are carrying weapons, and they're ready to, well, attack the Capitol building. Well, that's what you got to expect. They're gonna attack the Capitol building, which is what they did. Um, so they went to the Capitol building. I mean, they were already there, um, but yeah, they went past security. Yeah, and security. Here's the thing about security. Yeah, a lot of them were kind of just letting them in, and a lot of people have been looking into this a lot. Um, because yeah, there are a lot of theories as to why security just let him in, which we can all agree it's pretty suspicious. And I mean, it's not really debatable, honestly, because I mean, there is footage of this. The mainstream media just isn't showing it, which is also pretty suspicious. Um,
Is this unprecedented? Have there ever been attacks to the capital in the past?
yes, there have been in the distant past. It's been, I think, I think about 200 years since the capital's been attacked. Um, so
No, still, yeah, it's not exactly regular.
yeah, this isn't a regular thing that occurs. This is not normal. Let's make this very clear. What happened is not normal at all. What's been happening really for the past year or so is not normal. Uh, Shit's been really crazy lately. Um, but yeah, we can go on and on about what's been happening over the past year, um, but yeah, what happened on January 6th, it's not normal at all, and it's not okay. And actually, a lot of people, yeah, I've been talking about this riot to a lot of people actually, and they're actually pretty surprised why I'm not in support of the riot. Um, and uh, well, and there are really many reasons why I don't support the riot at all. Which we can talk a bit more about later, but we should really cover more about what happened in the riot. Um, so yeah, so the rioters got past the police and well, police slash security, mostly just Capitol security, but yeah, so keep in mind a lot of them were waving Blue Lives Matter flags, which I'd say is yeah, that basically explains why the police slash security let them in because the police slash security are basically like, oh hey, these people are on my side. Look, they support me. Um, I guess we should just let them in. And it's pretty ironic. There were actually some off-duty cops participating in this riot. Um, and really, all this is just yeah, this is all just a load of hypocrisy because if you love the I mean yeah, if you love America so much, and you care for the security of your own country, which is implied with the Blue Lives Matter flag, then you wouldn't invade a Capitol building for any reason whatsoever. And certainly an off-duty cop would never do that. Um, except that's what actually happened. So the only explanation is they're a hypocrite. Um, yeah, there were certainly a lot of hypocrites there, and there are many, many, many reasons why they're hypocrites. Um, but yeah, uh, so as you know, they stormed the Capitol building. Uh, yeah, they just I wouldn't say all security uh was just letting them in, but I'd say a significant amount of them was just letting them in. Now the right has been saying it's all just been a huge stage and a huge setup. Um, which they're right about that to an extent, but not for the reason they think. Really, Trump set this all up. Well, not the whole thing. Like this has been fairly planned. But it was basically Trump that set it up because he set up the rally. Um, and as you know, Congress was having that uh, Joe Biden um, win. What do you call it? Um, Official process of certifying Joe Biden's win. I'll just call it that. But yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, anyway. So Trump did plan this. And as you know, Trump he's he's president. So um yeah, and as you know, the president is the government. So the government did plan this, and that's how because the president did. Um, but yeah, the right really is confused on how it was planned. Um, but um, yeah. Anyway, so as you know, they got in the building. They overwhelmed security, and some security let them in. Like some people were actually taking selfies with the police. That was crazy. And so people started breaking windows to get in, uh, and and yeah, breaking through the door to get in, and that's because there was a lot of people. So yeah, and as you know, everyone was storming it all at once. So to get that many people in all at once, yeah, you're gonna need to break some windows. So yeah, that's what happened as a result. Um, and also these people were angry as fuck. So of course they're gonna break some windows. But yeah, so they went in, and when they got in, word got out to Congress, which was currently having a session, um, certifying Joe Biden's win by voting, and so that was interrupted immediately, and Congress was put in lockdown. Um, so they got all the politicians. Yeah, they got all the politicians and they put them somewhere in some kind of Congress bunker. I don't know, but it was a fairly secure location that was in a different room than where all this was taking place. Um, so because they got evacuated and were put on lockdown, that gave that gave room for the rioters to come in and yeah, basically take over the entire place. So yeah, they went in so many rooms, and yeah, they were trashing the place. Let's see, they were doing a lot. Some of them didn't even know what they were doing. Once they got in, they were just like, "Well, I'm done. We did it." And yeah, my reaction to that is basically, uh, no, that's that's not how you do it. You're supposed to have a plan after that. Um, like if you're just gonna raid Capitol building just to raid a Capitol building. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That can't be your goal because after that, nothing really happens. Like you need to really plan this. But a lot of these people didn't even know what they were doing. They didn't plan anything. A lot of them were just being idiots about it. Well, yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that so far?
The thing is, unless it were a very planned kind of thing, there's this concept that people in groups, specifically in riots, they develop mob mentality, which is just the group behaving very irrationally. So it's not surprising that they didn't have a good plan to of what to do inside.
Yeah. Yeah. That's essentially what happened. A lot of them really had not thought this through fully. Um, yeah, they were sort of just following the group and uh yeah, they were really just causing a bunch of destruction and chaos for well, no reason. Like a lot of them stopped after a while and they were just being crazy just for the sake of being crazy, really. And yeah, overall it's just ridiculous. I mean, if you're going to do this with essentially no cause or nothing to justify your cause, then it's very irrational and makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
One thing that I found very interesting was that apparently people obviously called the police when that occurred, and Trump took the credit of being the one who did it. As in, someone else called the police, and he told everyone else that he was the one who initially called the police, which is just, to add to the gaslighting end.
Oh, really? I haven't even.
No, so,
I didn't
yeah,
even know
he
that
took
actually.
credit for it. Man, it's so hypocritical.
Wow. Yeah,
It's
I
ridiculous.
I didn't know that. Wow, that's yeah, that is ridiculous. That's pretty fucked. Um,
I mean, I'm not even surprised coming from Trump, but it's just it's a very violent situation. Even in the situation as bad as this, he wants to be the center of attention. Oh, I'm the good guy. Oh, I called the police. I was the first one to took initiative and called the police. Which, well,
yeah, it's really ridiculous. All this is really just it's just desperation for power from Trump. Uh, he's doing anything to make himself look good. Which the more he tries, the more it backfires on him. Because really, at this point, a lot of people hate him, including people who once supported him, and including even a lot of conservatives as well. Like it's crazy, and really rightfully so because Trump threw his supporters just completely under the bus with this. Um, yeah, it's crazy. And oh man, yeah, Trump. He was man. There's so much to say about Trump. With his involvement with this, because oh man, yeah. What do I even say? Trump, like, he had so much to do with this. It's insane. Like he started it all, and then he blamed it on the people. He didn't admit that it was his fault. It's like this is just insane. And but yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, so the people went in and they were doing all kinds of things. Like there was this oh man. Oh yeah, and people have been making fun of this a lot because really like a lot of this is actually pretty laughable. Because a lot of these people not only were crazy, but they looked pretty crazy too. Um, and they were just doing silly things. Like there was this one guy who looked like he was. like on crack or something, and he was just holding like pretty sure like a pedestal or something. And I mean, yeah, it like so here's another thing. That's looting. Uh, yeah, here's another hypocrisy um that I forgot to mention. Uh, so the right, when the so in 2016 when Trump got elected on well not elected but was declared the winner on election night. As you know, there were riots all across the nation. Um, from the left and the right, and the right was saying, "Oh, you shouldn't riot at all whatsoever." And then when Black Lives Matter happened in 2020, there were, as you know, riots and protests from the left, and the right was saying, "Oh, wow, look at all these assholes rioting and protesting." And well, it's hypocrisy because what has the right been doing for 3 months? Just rioting and protesting a fuck ton. And it's especially hypocritical on the 6th because that was the biggest and most destructive riot that the right has displayed. Um, and yeah, there was violence, there was rioting, there was looting, and there was, as you know, there was death. Um, there were there were 5 deaths as a result. So yeah, the right is completely hypocritical when it comes to their stance on rioting. So uh, yeah, the right doesn't have a right to protest or riot because they claim to be against it. So if you're gonna say you're against protesting and rioting, then you better not protest and riot. It's complete hypocrisy. You don't have the right to do that if you claim to be against it. So yeah, that's one of the things uh that made me mad when I was watching this. And yeah, by the way, I was watching this as it was happening. Like I didn't see the whole thing. Like I didn't see Trump's entire rally, but I did see once they got in the Capitol building, like I did see a bunch of people just going crazy and shit. I was like, holy fuck, is this really happening? Because like I knew something crazy was gonna happen on January 6th, and honestly, like you should really expect the unexpected. But well, I honestly didn't think it'd be that crazy. But at the same time, I wasn't surprised because I knew January 6th would essentially be the right's last grab for power. But yeah, um, yeah, it's been overall crazy. Oh yeah, there was oh man, yeah, a lot of it was pretty funny because um as you know, there's the Viking guy who's pretty crazy. He's known as like the QAnon shaman. Yeah, that guy's crazy. Um, and then there was like, oh man, this one I'd say is the funniest. There was some guy who was just like sitting on Nancy Pelosi's desk, and he had like his feet up and everything, and he was just chilling there. He was like, "Oh, no big deal. I'm just sitting. I'm just chilling on Nancy Pelosi's desk. No biggie." Yeah, it was hilarious. Man, it was just some of the funniest shit. Like as fucked up as this was, like a lot of this was pretty hilarious. But yeah, so after he sat on Nancy Pelosi's desk, like there was actually an interview afterwards. He was saying, "Oh," he was saying something like, "Oh yeah, I gave Nancy Pelosi, I think it was like 50 cents or something. I don't know. It was pretty random." But oh yeah, I think he also left a note on her desk, and yeah, it was just really hilarious. And yeah, just everything was trashed, and um, yeah, it was crazy. And some of these people even had zip ties, and they brought weapons. And the zip ties were to essentially hold the um, politicians hostage. But as you know, that didn't really happen. They weren't really prepared well enough to succeed. Um, but yeah, um, yeah. There's really just a lot to say about this riot because it was just so unbelievably insane. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, no. I mean, I know a lot of stuff happened, but from what I gather, it was just a very violent riot and what is it called? Trespass into the capital.
Yeah.
I don't know many details.
Oh, it's all right. But yeah, it was. Yeah, it was for sure very violent, and yeah, it's just complete hypocrisy because the right was saying, "Oh, look at the left; they've been so violent over the summer with the Black Lives Matter stuff. Oh, they're idiots." And then what do they do? Like 3 months later, they start committing violence, and the most violence occurred on January 6th. And but yeah, it was. Oh man, there's a lot to say about this, but yeah, it was just so crazy. And then yeah, after they were like looting and declaring that they had power um over the politicians and stuff. Which, by the way, they didn't exactly succeed in that because the politicians were all somewhere else. They were on lockdown. Um, yeah, so after that, yeah, a lot of them were already satisfied. I'd say probably about like 75% of the crowd was satisfied with what happened. So a lot of them didn't really know what to do after that. They were just like, "Oh, so we took over the Capitol building. So what now?" And they were basically like that for a while until the police National Guard was called. Um, and yeah, they were all sent over to the Capitol building, and well, yeah, the area was cleared, and they were forced out, and well, yeah, that's basically it. They got forced out, and Washington D.C. was put under lockdown after that. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to mention during the riot. Yeah, there were a lot of weapons being used. Like what pissed me off the most out of all the weapons they brought was Molotov cocktails because uh yeah, that's not a weapon the authoritarian right uses. That's for anarchists. Like these guys don't even know their own weapons. Like fuck them.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Molotovs. So they were, I mean, they did plan somewhat in advance. If you say that they brought zip ties and Molotovs,
Oh yeah, they did, and a lot of them brought guns too. Yeah, there were all sorts of weapons being brought. Yeah,
how
it
were
was.
they? How are they allowed to bring guns to the? I mean, not inside the capital, obviously, but to that area. Were there not security checking them, or
They really weren't because DC has pretty strict gun laws. But yeah, they really weren't. They just brought them anyway. Um, just because they were ready to really just put their lives on the line to uh, to try to take over the government and have Trump installed as the supreme leader. Which, by the way, that was the intention. They wanted they wanted Trump to be the supreme leader for the rest of his life. Because think about it. Um, they wanted Trump in office, even though he lost. Um, and as you know, all Trump wants is power. So he wouldn't. So even after a second term, he wouldn't even stop after that. He'd use the military to force him into power uh, for well the rest of his life, and he'd take over Congress. Which, yeah, I've mentioned this a lot actually. Specifically taking over Congress. And a lot of people haven't believed me when I say that Trump was going to try to take over Congress. Well, Trump attempted to take over Congress exactly on December 6th. Now, all these people that were saying uh, that I was wrong about that, um, well, yeah, that's what happened. I was, but, but yeah, luckily it didn't happen. Uh, because yeah, Trump having absolute control of everything, that would that'd be a huge disaster, like a giant disaster. So I'm really glad these people failed. I'm really glad Trump failed. I'd say it was like it was certainly planned. I'd say it was mostly planned from Trump though. I'd say most of the blame goes to Trump, but that doesn't excuse all these people that were rioting because well, they did some of the planning as well. Um, and of course they went through with it. Um, they actually did it, so they definitely get some blame too. Um, but yeah, really, no one who participated in this riot is excused from it, and of course, neither is Trump. Uh, but yeah. Oh yeah, another thing that was really hypocritical about all this. So all these people, well, at least almost all these people. I can't say for certain for the libertarian rightists that were there, but it was mostly an authoritarian slash fascist slash far right slash Nazi crowd. Yeah, them they definitely support the police. Um, so it's just really hypocritical that if you support that these people they claim to support the police and they even have flags saying that they support the police, that they back the blue and all that, but at the same time they were literally attacking the police. Yeah, that's complete hypocrisy. Like if you claim if you love the police so much, then you might as well just do everything they say. You might as well just not attack them at all. But yeah, so which is it? Are you for the police? Are you gonna obey every single command they have, or are you against the police? And are you gonna stop using that flag and stop supporting the police? Which is it? Which brings us to another thing. So a lot of these people, so the reason why Back the Blue became such a huge thing in 2020, was because, of course, Black Lives Matter, all these riots and protests that were happening in the summer, well, spring slash summer, um, they were addressing police brutality and police racism, police violence, and all that. And so the right, as a reaction, were like, "Oh yeah, we definitely back the blue. We support the police, and all that." The right and the fascists, by the way. But yeah, they were like, "Oh yeah, we love our police and all that." But yeah, the truth is they really don't. If they're gonna just attack them afterwards, um, really, this isn't really even about the police at all. This is really just about the right hating black people and wanting to attack and exterminate black people, um, which is it's essentially genocide and of course racism. This is absolutely not okay at all. And the right, they're really just too big of a pussy. They're too big pussies to admit that they're racist and that they have a hatred against black people. Um, yeah, they might as well just say it at this point. But yeah, yeah, obviously from the actions that occurred against the police, they're obviously not pro police at all. So that really just confirms that the fact the blue flag slash Blue Lives Matter flag, it's really just a Nazi and racist hate symbol. That's really all it is. And it's really a disgusting symbol if you ask me. Um, but yeah, actions speak louder than words. That can't be more true than it is today, really. But yeah,
Yep.
yeah, for sure. You got any thoughts on that?
No, I was just thinking of mentioning the Twitter ban since it's related to this.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, after all this happened, so Trump released a video. It was either Trump or uh or some other account that he released it on, but he released a video saying, "Oh, go home, we love you." As it was happening, he was saying he loved the violent rioters when this happened. And so it got released on Twitter somehow. But uh, but yeah, at around this time, yeah, Trump got banned from Twitter, and really all social media whatsoever. Um, but
I
yeah,
have an article here
oh,
with that stuff. It's short.
all right, for sure.
Okay, so the article says on January the 8th, 2021, President Donald J. Trump tweeted, quote, the 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first, and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. To all of those, this is a second tweet, to all of those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January the 20th. End quote. Due to the ongoing tensions in the United States and an uptick in global conversation regarding the people who violently stormed the Capitol on January the 6th, these two tweets must be read in the context of broader events in the country in the ways in which the president's statements can be mobilized by different audiences. So, in essence, uh, let me just. Okay, so it's basically him implying, since he won't be there in the inauguration day, that he wants them to repeat the riot.
Oh yeah, he
But
does.
you need to read between the lines, but it's heavily implied
Oh
that
yeah, for
then the
sure.
first tweet of him praising the American people after such an atrocity, it's messed up.
Yeah, it really is messed up, and that is true. As much as I hate to admit it, well, these riots really aren't over. They really aren't. There's for sure going to be one tomorrow, during the inauguration ceremony, and they may pop up all across the country. As much as I hate saying this, because I don't want to give anyone ideas, it's true. This really isn't the end. The the right and the Nazis are still going to have their hissy fits. And they're still going to demand Trump be forced into office as the supreme leader. Um, yeah, tomorrow's the final day. That's basically saying no, it's not going to happen. Because Joe Biden will become the president, and Trump will have absolutely lost by then. This is the last day of Trump's presidency, He only has a few hours of being president tomorrow. Um, but yeah, shit is really intense right now. Oh yeah, and by the way, let me mention another thing. So I mentioned earlier that the Capitol got put on lockdown, and yeah, it's been on lockdown ever since. Really, no one can go to Washington D.C. right now except for the press and the military. Yeah, there's a huge military presence in D.C. right now. In fact, it's been declared a green zone. Yeah, that only happens in war zones. Yeah, so the military is essentially establishing a war zone within the United States. A lot of people don't get how serious this is. Um, yeah, this is extremely dangerous. And oh yeah, by the way, this is one of yeah, this is what happens after well, stuff like this happens, like a violent riot um at the federal capitol. Um, yeah, the government is going to see it as a justification for more security. So they're going to amp up. They're going to place more police and more military at that place, and soon uh, all around the country. And yeah, the military has been placed all around the country too at state capitals because yeah, there have actually been some more protests. I I wouldn't say any of them have really escalated to the point of riots yet, but yeah, there were some protests. There were some actually here in this state's capital. But yeah, there have been protests. Really, they've all been small. A lot of the protesters there have been armed, but really they've been peaceful. Like no one has been using any weaponry. And I'm assuming it's mostly because one, the crowds are really small, and two, because they're too intimidated by the heavy police presence and military presence. And I really wish I weren't saying this right now, but well, yeah, the police and the military have been making a massive presence all across the country, especially in Washington D.C. Um, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say at this point that it's uh it's a Nazi police state and a Nazi military state all at the same time. Uh, yeah, I really hate admitting this, but we gotta face the truth. That's what all this is. Uh, we're living in a fascist dystopia. The sooner we recognize it, the sooner we'll get out of it.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so another reason why this lockdown has been justified um, is because, well, I mean, has been considered justified by the mainstream media and the government itself, is because of Joe Biden's inauguration ceremony. Um, well, there's definitely going to be a riot in relation to the inauguration ceremony. In fact, there's one that's probably going to happen at the inauguration ceremony. But here's the thing: there's a lot of military there, um, so the military is likely going to stop anyone they suspect to uh, start a riot or some sort of violent demonstration at the inauguration ceremony. Uh, it's really, let's just say tomorrow is going to be one really fucking crazy day. There's definitely going to be a riot. Um, and some are saying that it's even going to be bigger than The one on the 6th, actually. Um, I've been hearing rumors, saying that there's gonna be a larger crowd, and that all this is secretly been planned. I mean, is secretly being planned, and that there's gonna be a way larger crowd, and that they're prepared to combat the police and the military. Um, but yeah, um, and honestly, it does kind of make sense. I wouldn't go as far to say that it's going to be big enough to, and not to mention that they won't be prepared enough to combat the police and military, unless they, of course, combine a bunch of militias together. I'd say it's a possibility, but I wouldn't say that's the truth. I don't think that's what's going to happen tomorrow. But and it is possible that Trump could be leading this, even when he's officially declared not the president anymore. Because of this, he could be leading all of this. Um, but yeah, we'll just have to find out tomorrow. I mean, normally I'd be looking forward to this because Trump would be officially kicked out of office, but really I'm not. I'm not looking forward to any sort of crazy violence or riot that's gonna happen tomorrow. But I'd say definitely be prepared for some chaos tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be one hell of a shit show. Um, but yeah, so let's see. Oh yeah, by the way, I want to talk a bit about QAnon. Have you heard of that?
Nope.
So a lot of the reason why this riot happened was because of QAnon, uh, which is basically QAnon is essentially people who believe that Trump is the savior of the world. Basically, yeah, that's basically that. And they believe in essentially every single conspiracy theory out there, and that they're all connected.
Is it like a cult or something?
I mean, they don't describe themselves as a cult, but honestly, I'd say they fit into the definition of a cult. Really, I'd call it a cult because I mean, they even have this official oath that they take, um, and they basically say that Trump is the savior of the world and that they need to fight to keep him in power. Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. I'd say for sure it's a cult.
I mean, the word savior sounds really religious.
Yeah, they really see Trump as religiously divine. Like it's really extremely concerning. Yeah, it's crazy, and yeah, Trump doesn't mind QAnon. In fact, he likes them simply because they like him. They're like, oh, I guess I have some
Obviously.
fans. Haha, QAnon's cool. Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, yeah, this really isn't the end of uh Trump supporters, but you can expect in the future for things to calm down. I'd say there's definitely going to be some riots all throughout January, the rest of January, and I'd say even going into February. But really, February is when things are going to start calming down. I'd say. But yeah, like I'd say tomorrow is going to be when the climax of all this political tension is going to occur. Because tomorrow's the last transition. I mean, the last day of the transition of power. So the right is going to see this as another chance for a power grab, and they're going to continue for a little bit. It's not going to be for that long, but it's going to be for a little bit tensions, as you know, have been extremely high. They're at an all-time high. I'd say their tensions are gonna raise really until February. Really, I wouldn't expect tensions to get any lower until yeah, February. But yeah, yeah, January's been crazy so far. Um, but yeah, yeah, as you know, yeah, Joe Biden's inauguration ceremony is tomorrow. I mean, let's just hope it goes smoothly. That's really all I gotta say. I mean, I know it's not, but let's just hope it goes as smooth as possible. I mean, not that I like Joe Biden or anything. Like, I fucking hate the guy. I'm just saying I hate Trump even more, and his supporters have officially lost it. Trump has gone way too far this time with the Capitol riot, and not to mention his supporters. They've gone way too far. Um, yeah, and oh yeah, here's the other thing. Trump has actually gotten impeached for a second time because of all this, because of this riot.
He should have been impeached way longer ago.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. He should have been impeached a second time uh in 2019, back when they were impeaching him for the first time. He should have been kicked out of office uh way long ago because he started a bunch of shit. He did some of the worst shit he's ever done in 2020 and 2021. Uh like in 2020, he almost started World War III literally on the third day of 2020. It was insane. Uh yeah, I was really mad when he assassinated Qasem Soleimani. That's extremely dangerous. I'd say that's hands down the worst thing he's ever done.
Oh, and he was almost not impeached, right? This time. I heard the vote was very split.
I mean, kind of. I mean, it was fairly split because, as you know, in politics, it's very divided right now, left versus right. It's very partisan. But at the same time, a lot of the right is finally starting to realize, hey, maybe Trump is not such a good guy after all. So they voted against him. And yeah, not just elected officials, also all kinds of rightists. Yeah, a lot of even Trump supporters have been saying that he's been going way too far with all this, um, and that the riot was unacceptable. And I'm really glad a lot of rightists are actually kind of coming to their senses. So if you're one of these riots that finally realizes how horrible Trump is, good on you, really. But yeah, overall, I'd still have to say the Republican Party um, and the authoritarian right in general is it's really too dangerous to keep existing. We really need to just abolish the Republican Party completely. It's just too dangerous to keep existing. Really, we should abolish the entire right, I'd say. Like, I know that sounds really extreme, but it's just too dangerous to keep existing. We can no longer afford to live that way. We just can't. We need to get rid of it. Like, as you know, Trump has had an extremely dangerous presidency over the last 4 years, especially within this last year. Um, and the right has been the right has been proven time and time to not promote sustainable living. We really need to move beyond this and create a new world where we can actually live sustainably, or else we uh, can't really expect a future. So we really need to just progress away from the right entirely because we can no longer afford to keep living like this. But
it's difficult to bring those kinds of changes.
it is, but I know we can do it. And yeah, I'll be here every step of the way, and I'll do whatever I can to make this change possible. But yeah, um, let's see what else. Oh yeah, Trump. So yeah, he completely threw his supporters under the bus. Because yeah, I think I mentioned this a bit earlier, but yeah, he said he was gonna be there at the riot with the supporters slash rioters, but yeah, he really wasn't. He just watched all of it on TV, and then he said, "Oh yeah, go home." After all that, I mean, he absolutely should have told everyone to go home because what happened was not okay. But yeah, yeah, he threw his supporters under the bus, just completely. He betrayed them basically. But yeah. Oh yeah. Also another thing. I would like to say this. I mentioned this also a bit earlier, but I didn't really go into detail. Um, yeah, I have been talking about the riot with a fair amount of people actually, and a lot of them have been saying they're pretty surprised that I'm against the riot simply because I'm an anarchist. Um, and yeah, there are really many reasons why I'm against the riot. I'm not going to go too huge into detail why, but I will say this. The thing that pissed me off about the riot most was the timing. Uh, so January 6th was the one day I wanted Congress to do their job, the absolute one day, because they'd be certifying that Trump would be kicked the fuck out of office on the 20th of January. That's the one day, and then the right just had to go and ruin it. And they didn't even ruin it completely. All they did was delay it a few hours. Um, but yeah, uh, yeah, that's what pissed me off the most about it. What also pissed me off about it was, yeah, there was a lot of hate, within it, within this, and yeah, I mentioned this earlier. Um, uh, yeah, there were certainly Nazis there, fascists, far righters, and authoritarian conservatives there. Um, what else? Yeah, it was planned terribly, um, and it wasn't successful as a result. Um, and it was all just the whole purpose of this was just to install Trump as the supreme leader for the rest of his life, supreme leader of America, and then supreme leader of the world. Um, but yeah, they failed, and I'm really glad they failed. Um, I can't tell you how glad I am that they failed. Um, uh, but yeah, fuck what happened on January 6th. That riot was absolutely a disaster. Um, it was not okay, and I'm really glad that it pissed off all kinds of people all across the political spectrum. Like the right was pissed off, the left was pissed off, authoritarians were pissed off, libertarians were pissed off. I'm just glad that this is one thing most of us can actually agree on. But yeah, any thoughts on that?
No, no, I agree with you on all things you just said.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, also another thing I've noticed about all this is let's see. So uh America is essentially destroying itself. And also the right. Like the government is essentially destroying itself because you have a Trump led mob fighting with the police. So the police and the Trump supporters are essentially destroying each other. And yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, I will say it's a good thing that they're destroying each other. Of course, I don't want people to actually die. It's definitely a tragedy. It sucks how even though there are a few people, it sucks how these few people died. Um, but yeah, I will say it's good how they're essentially destroying each other because this brings new opportunity for something new, which it's we definitely need something new. We cannot keep living like this. Um, but yeah, uh, yeah, yeah, America's essentially destroying itself. Um, America's falling, really. We just gotta look at it straight in the eye and just admit it. America's falling. But yeah, um, yeah, we can talk about this a bit more like on another episode. Because this is really more of a different topic. Um, yeah, today's really mostly just about the Capitol riot. Um, I will say though, a few things good have come from this. I mean, of course it was bad and it was terrible, but I think we should look at the bright side of this. So, the riot that did happen on January 6th, it really exposed how America and really government in general is all built on a house of cards. Um, I'm not saying we shouldn't like I've so we've been denouncing this riot for a while throughout this episode, but at the same time, this doesn't mean we shouldn't stand up against a tyrannical government. We absolutely need to. We cannot stand for tyranny or fascism anymore. We just shouldn't do it in the way that happened on January 6th. We still absolutely need to stand up against tyranny and fascism, and we can. And January 6th represented, I mean, it demonstrated to us that we can. The government isn't all powerful like we thought it was. We can bring it down. We absolutely can bring the government down, and we should. Um, but yeah, another good thing that happened. I mean, another good thing you can get out of this is, well, so Trump started off 2020 by almost starting World War III. Trump started off 2021 by starting a riot. So honestly, I'd say that's making good progress. Um, I mean, I'll take a riot over almost starting World War III any day, really. Like, of course, as you know, tensions are still extremely high right now. Um, but I'd say it's really a sign that things are getting better. Um, because Trump will no longer be in office starting tomorrow. Um, and and yeah, we don't have to. We really just don't have to worry about Trump's tyranny any longer. So I'm really glad about that. Yeah, you got any thoughts on that?
Nope.
All right.
I think it's time we kind of wrap this up.
Oh yeah,
Don't you think?
for sure. I do think we should say just a few things more though. And we're not going to touch on this fully, but I think it is worth mentioning a few things about Joe Biden because this does kind of in a way have to deal with Joe Biden a little bit because it's all about the transition of power. So yeah, this all does really have to do with Joe Biden having power instead of Trump. Uh, and Joe Biden has denounced the riot a lot. I'm glad he did. And yeah, like don't get me wrong, I hate Joe Biden, and there's gonna like throughout this podcast, we're definitely gonna be talking about Joe Biden a lot, and I'm definitely gonna be shitting on him a lot because fuck him. But yeah, at the same time though, uh, let's see how he does. I mean, like I think he's an asshole still, but at the same time, let's give him a chance. Really, let's like he'll be president tomorrow, so yeah, let's see what happens. Oh yeah, also, I do want to say one thing about the mainstream media. So the mainstream media has been really doing a shit job of covering this. Uh, and they've been doing also something dangerous. So as you know, the mainstream media has been saying, "Oh, there are a bunch of planned riots, in the future that are gonna happen." That's really not a good idea to say at all. Because you're kind of putting in people's minds like imagine if like an authoritarian rightist or Nazi were to see that. They'd be like, "Oh, I wonder if there's a riot near me. Maybe I should go to it." So the media is subliminally putting into people's heads uh, that they should riot. It's like the news is telling people to riot. Um, which really this isn't okay. Really, like
That's definitely not intentional. The people who make, you know, reporters and journalists, they're just really retarded at
they are for
thinking
sure.
about the consequences of what they say sometimes. So it's obviously not intentional, but it's just stupid.
Oh, I
It's like, for example, when they mentioned suicide of a person, a famous person. Whenever that happens, suicide rates tend to increase drastically.
yeah, I
So
wouldn't
they don't think about the consequences. They just report the news and fuck the consequences.
honestly. I'd say this is intentional. I mean, the media is extremely influential on people. The media can make people act a certain way because they tell you how to think a certain way. Uh, the the media essentially controls the world. Yeah, they. But yeah, either way though, yeah, the consequences are definitely drastic. So what we need to do is get rid of news completely. We need to abolish it. I'm not saying we should definitely stay informed, but the mainstream media, the way it currently exists, we really need to get rid of it. It's just way too dangerous. The consequences are quite literally deadly. Um, yeah, yeah. I really don't appreciate how the mainstream media is subliminally encouraging the right and Nazis to continue to have violent riots in support of uh, Donald Trump. But yeah, 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 all this is pretty fucked up. There's been a lot of fucked up shit going on, and yeah, the Capitol riot that occurred on January 6th, that was yeah, it was really fucked up. Um, and and I absolutely I absolutely have to say that everyone involved really fuck them. They're assholes. And also fuck Trump for starting this whole thing and encouraging this whole thing. Like all this is really just not cool. But yeah. We should absolutely learn from this because this is a huge mistake from the government. So we need to learn from this mistake. We need to grow from it. We need to move forward and just not express so much hate and violence throughout our lives. Really, we need to have love and peace into our life. I'd say we need to build a better future. That's what I'd have to say about all this. How about you?
I specifically agree with the news media stuff. We should really get rid of it. It's
Oh yeah,
so fucking
absolutely.
toxic nowadays.
It absolutely is. It's too dangerous to for us to allow continue. We can't allow it to continue to exist. It just is too powerful. It has too much influence, and the consequences of it existing are way too uh deadly. Yeah, it's horrible. We need to find ways to stop relying on the news so much. And uh but yeah, part of why I started doing this podcast was um it like it's a stand up against the mainstream media. Um yeah, because I really don't like what they're doing and all the negative influence it has on people. I really don't like how they're controlling people's minds and all this. It's really just gone too far, and I want people to have sources where they're actually encouraged to think for themselves. So that's what I intend to do with this podcast. But yeah. Um, so oh yeah. By the way, um do you have anything positive to say? Because as you know, like we've been in some pretty negative times lately, but yeah, would you say um there's anything positive that can come from all this?
I mean, I guess really the only thing positive regarding the political situation is that the Trump presidency was a shit show, and thankfully it's close to an end. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is ending.
it was awful. These past 4 years were awful, but it's over finally.
Yeah, it's over in less than 24 hours, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful that Trump is getting the fuck out of office really soon. I will I will say this to everyone. Fuck Trump. Trump is the worst president in US history. He is an absolute madman and a Nazi, and he's too dangerous to he's way too dangerous to be allowed to have power. Um every single thing Trump has done is absolutely unacceptable. And I'm glad we can finally move on from it. But yeah, and I do think we should really take a look at Trump's presidency and learn from the mistakes he made. Um, and but yeah, I really do think we need to start healing from all this. We really need to start uh, just we really need to start coming together as people and start realizing that all this crazy shit isn't the answer. All this violence and all this hatred and all this bigotry, it really isn't the answer. We really need to start moving forward and creating a better future for everyone, so we can uh, have great lives on this planet Earth. Really, because like as crazy as everything is, it really is a great planet, and and I want this home planet Earth to be as great of a home as possible. I want this planet to be our heaven, and I know we can do it. I know we can make this world a better place. We just need to do whatever we can to make this world a better place, and that starts now. But yeah, you got anything else to say? Any other thoughts?
No, no.
All right. So yeah, I'd say that's about it. How about you?
Thank you. I think we covered it all.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
for sure. I'd say, yeah, that was certainly an interesting discussion today. Yeah, obviously, um, a lot of craziness, but we can learn from all this craziness and build a better future as a result. And I know we can do it. But yeah, yeah, that's about it. Thank you again. Thank you so much again for coming on, Swift. It's really great to have you again.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'd say today was a great episode, really.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so yeah, that's about it, guys. Stay tuned for more episodes in the future. I'm gonna start doing these again more because all these computer issues finally got fixed. So yeah, new episodes will be on Sundays and Tuesdays. So yeah, uh, yeah. See you guys later. Bye.
See you.